All right, we're live. I wasn't gonna wear my hat. I was gonna wear a different hat, get myself together. But we are live. It's our meetup night. And usually on our meetups, we're usually on go to meeting. But tonight I chose to do a little differently. Give a chance. Like we've done this before where we are live with our meetups. Um, I just wanted to give a different take on instead of having it enclosed. Give people a chance to talk. You can come up. Dee can drop the link as well too for our meetup. For our live right now. I just want to give a. Um, I just want to give a. I'm looking at myself. I just wanted to give uh, um, a people a chance to talk. It is the holiday. I am going to share my screen too. Let me put on Women in Linux and get into the meetup. I hope you were able to catch Monday show. We got a chance to talk to Michael Frazier on DevSecOps as a platform, and that was It's Refactor right here. This is the company that he sold. I posted this in Slack in the general channel. In the general channel, but this is the company that was sold. Um, and CIT as code. But basically, it was bought by a company called Sophos. So that company is this one. And I think we posted jobs already for Sophos, but here, if you get back to the home page right here, um, check them out. Uh, as you can see, they have positions all around the world, right? And then they even have just a specialty section for remote jobs. All right. So you can check out their remote jobs and you can see created in the last 7 days 119 jobs. Um, Program manager, senior security engineer, senior manager, sales ops, junior account executive, principal DevOps engineer, senior business system analyst, channel account manager, MSP, internal distribution account manager, senior inside sales engineer, lead BI, senior channel sales engineer. And then we got more results because there was 119 of them. You can see some stuff for senior software developer for Mac OS, and the list goes on, right? So just give you an idea of where they were and who they are now as far as who purchased them and what does that look like. What's going on, C. Casey? How you doing? And to all those that are out there. All right. So that gives you an idea of again what it looks like. There's a YouTube channel out there, but this just right here gives you an idea of how the inputs are for creating this platform, more or less drop and drag, getting into the realm of no code, low code. I've spoke on this before. Cloud security, app security, incident response, network automation, infrastructure automation, right? All this is you can center this around DevSecOps, right? I talk about this all the time. People ask, where once I learn Linux, then what? Well, you need to learn Ansible and then the next skill. Okay, you need to learn Terraform. What's the next skill? Security. Well, Linux has security baked into it, but you also need to learn security from a standpoint uh, of infrastructure security, bare metal machine security, container security, um, also cloud security, security of the application. And that's what we get into here: application security, incident response, network automation. Now, all these are jobs. But if you are like curious about things, you're gonna go dip your toe from infrastructure automation into incident response into app security. Like, what does that mean? Like, what do I do in those things, right? So that's what normally is the path, right? But outside of that path, suppose you don't want to do DevSecOps, right? You can also go into, and I talk about this all the time, you can go into SRE, right? You could become doing SRE. So you could, if you type in on Indeed SRE, what's going on, Kevin? How you doing? Right? Proud member, right? So here's an SRE. And then let's just jump down here. 1 year Kubernetes, right? 100 to 200 full time, right? Let's jump down here. Senior role SRE in link pool. You'll be joining a small enduring team to have a core role in development across all the products and services. You'll work on infrastructure of a full range of products, predominantly focused on our blockchain full node chain link nodes, right? So remember when I talk about DevSecOps and SRE and all that give you verticals into things? Well, here it is. Here's those verticals that I talk about all the time, right? So I'm gonna pull this down so you can see where I was reading from. Blow this up a little more because it looked like it was kind of blurry. Let's see. It was. Let me go back out because I think it moved it right here. Um, right here. Um, you'll be joining the team. Blah 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 blah. Right here, chain link. Right. See that? You'll work on infrastructure. Um, of our full range products, predominantly focused. Their products that they have is focused on the blockchain. Remember, these are servers, and these servers have to live somewhere, right? It's not like blockchain is just running on just a chain, right? It's running on a server somewhere, right? And that's why I keep saying, like, it's just the sweet spot for you to go. Oh, you want to go play with AI? Go. Oh, you want to go play with ML? Go. You want to go do deep racing? Go. You want to go into blockchain? Go. It just gives you a sweet spot to dip your toes into any technology, right? So it says we collaborate directly with teams working at the forefront of blockchain space, and your work will be integral part. You design and implement scalable cloud environments leveraging automation tools, cloud services, and security best practices. I tell you all the time, security is going to always be, if you make security a part of your learning, you can always you're going to always be employed. That's just what I got to say, right? Champion automation tools and technologies to maximize staff efficiency and adoption of cloud technologies. Evaluate and optimize release management strategies and processes, getting into agile, utilizing automation to maximize consistency and efficiency. So when we look at this, we have to be cognizant of things like when you hear that, you have to be cognizant of things like this. Um, let me pull this up over here. Let me pull this up. I'll put this right here. All right. So this is my Git Lab, and we're gonna go through this tonight. So when I talk about this, I talk about it from this standpoint right here. Just right here in this Git Lab YAML file right here. Security right here. SAST. SAST. Right? SAST. Let's go here to this website right here. Let's go. They got a website right here. So get you some information. This is just inside of GitLab. They also do this in GitHub too, right? And other things. Static application security testing. Remember when I tell you you are creating pipelines as a DevSecOps engineer, even as an SRE engineer, or infrastructure or automation or network automation or what have you, you're always going to be creating pipelines, right? And your main job is to, one, get rid of these criticals and these highs. Really should begin with the critical highs and mediums, but we'll let you slide on some mediums, right? Lows, okay. right? We'll let you slide on those. But really, we like to see all these gone. In some aspects, they like to see all of them gone, but they'll let an application get deployed if these are really primarily gone. Really, the criticals and highs. Work to create a workflow to get rid of the mediums, right? So there's just some things that you're just gonna have to know. You see here, right here, dynamic application security testing, DAST, right? And this is gonna be a common flow throughout all of your time, right? I don't care who you are, right? I don't care where you work at. It's gonna always be something that's centered around security of the infrastructure, the application, your PII, your personal information, security of your laptop, your home network, all those things. These is just things that you're gonna have to be cognizant of, right? So what GitLab has a whole entire security um, pipeline that you can set up. So here you can see on the side right here, right? So how to secure your application, right? So you can do, and let me blow this up. Mm, It's not, I don't like that. Let's see. Here we go. So you can do container scanning. You can do dependency list, dependency scanning, the dynamic application security testing, API fuzzing, secret detection. And so there's a open source tool out there for fuzzing with the APIs, finding known bugs and vulnerabilities in your APIs. Secret detection, a security dashboard, SaaS, infrastructure as code scanning. Remember, you're using Terraform, but you still need to do scanning of the infrastructure. So here's TerraTest. Um, make sure I spell it right. So you need to make sure you get automated tests for your, again, unit tests for everything. So this one you could do unit tests for Terraform, Packer, Docker, Kubernetes, AWS, and GCP. Now we start getting into setting up your pre-commits. I don't know if you are familiar with pre-commits, and I'm really getting into the DevSecOps, and I'm gonna pull back out here in a minute. But installing a pre-commit, so when your application or your infrastructure goes to be pushed to, say, my GitHub repo here, right? And inside my GitHub repo, I push my Terraform code that I have right here. And all I'm doing out with this Terraform code here is I am I'm grabbing the latest and greatest of Kubernetes version, right? And then I'm deploying uh three nodes, and I gave them a taint for those loads. But I can also deploy an application on here, and that I'll get into that here. And here we'll start looking at the cluster and so forth here soon. But I just wanted to show you where we're headed, right? With this project, I'm gonna keep building on this project. Right now, it's a to me it's a bare bones project. What needs to happen with this project is it needs to have redundancy added to it. It needs to have a load balancer added to it. It needs to have let me see why I didn't get an X. Oh, it was trying to contact. Oh yeah, Terraform Cloud was acting wonky with me, right? It gave me this output here, but anyway, I'll fix that. But it needs to have redundancy. I need to do unit testing on the actual um, information that I'm deploying, or the infrastructure that I'm deploying. It needs to have, once an application is deployed, we need to set up dashboards. We need to get monitoring going with it. We also need to integrate it with um, possibly Datadog, but they have their own thing in here where I can integrate with Kubernetes here. Um, Let me see. Did I bring it over? No, I didn't. Let me look here. there's another link where you can just do a one click of applications and then it'll install the applications for you, right? So I need to look at that. So there's a ton of work that needs to get done just to deploy the cluster, right? Because you want to monitor your cluster, you want to secure your cluster, you want to ensure that the cluster is up, the application is up, the application is secure, the APIs are secure. If you've written some APIs for your application, you want to do the fuzzing that we talked about before. All right, so there's just a whole lot that we need to do with this application, right? Um, Secret detection. You don't want to put your AWS credentials or your GCP DigitalOcean credentials into your repository, so you want to scan that. Then we have vulnerability, reports. Right. This is where I was talking about. Like, I scan my. Suppose I'm at a particular version of Kubernetes, and I go do a scan, and there's a newer version out there. Right. That newer version may take care of some security problems that we had before. So we want to ensure that we have that back. So this is why if you look at this report right here, and you can see where they show the six criticals, the D, you got this on the screen, the six criticals, the 27 highs, the mediums, and so forth. And they show where all this is at, and then they create a report. Well, so in some organizations, this report would not be in the hands of the person who built the infrastructure. It would be in the hands of security. But that just doesn't make sense to me. And the reason why it doesn't make sense to me is because I built it, I should take care of it. And that's really what the whole shift left is, right? If you ever seen the targeted information out there, it's shift left DevOps or shift left security. And basically, what they're saying is, instead of security being at the end, really you want to wrap security into your pipeline and into your process. So at every step of the way, at every stage, you're securing the infrastructure, the container, the application itself. That's really what they're saying here with the whole shift left, right? And here's Aqua Security. Their term shift left refers to the efforts of DevOps to guarantee application security at the earliest stage in the development lifecycle as a part of the organization pattern of DevSecOps. Right? That's why I say everybody's like, "Oh, I'm going to get a cybersecurity degree." Well, okay, that's nice, but what you doing with it? Right? What are you doing with it? Are you penetration testing? Are you doing compliance or whatnot? Again, this just gives you again that sweet spot, right? Even here, you see it just right here, supply chain security. I talked about this last week. And you even remember it with SolarWinds. That's part of the supply chain. I showed you the diagram or the actual slides where they're talking about where Ruby itself had a issue with their modules, or I should say their gems, and then also Python had an issue with their code. And so we're talking about the supply chain of the code in which you're pulling information down to create your application or to create your infrastructure. The same way with containers. You run out there, you'll get these containers from Docker, or one of your friends will shoot you a container and you don't even scan it. Here's a little thing you can use. Go to Trivy, scan the Docker file, right? So Trivy right here, scanner for vulnerability containers is it's implemented inside of Git Lab. It's just a thing that you can call. But again, you want to scan for a Docker container. And here it is, Trivy misconfiguration scanner for containers, for file systems, for your Git repositories, right here. And then they show you right here, right? Let's blow that up, right? Look at it. So it's Trivy image, and it's looking at Alpine 3. Okay, so this is the image. It's downloading that, right? And look, need to update database, so it updates the database. Detected Alpine, detecting Alpine vulnerability, and then it just basically does a scan. Let's see if we can do the same thing. Let's see if we can get the output to do the same thing, right? We're just gonna cheat here. Let me find my um my command line. All right, let's go here and let's clear. You can see I was playing around with my thing. So let's do Trivi image Alpine. Just do what they got right here. 3.10.7. All right, here we go. I'm just copying what they had. All right, so look, as you can see, based upon what I just typed in, it tells me I got 3 highs, right? Lib fetch 2021, before 2021, as used in APK tools, XBPS, and other products. And Alpine Linux, you need to do pretty much probably an update, and it tells you the CVEs that's associated with it, right? So we talk about these CVEs all the time, right? I mentioned this, right? So there is a CVE, or if you go here nvd.nist.gov, you can just look at this CV and it tells you libfetch before 2020, before 7/26/2021 is used in blah 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 blah. It says the FTP passive mode implementation allows an outbounds read because the str toll is used to parse relevant numbers in the address, and it's a severity that it tells you right there, right? And so then it goes into references to advisories, solutions, and tools, and they talk about how to solve it and so forth. So your NIST is your National Vulnerability Database. You can find information about your operating system, your containers, applications, and so forth from NIST. Let's go back to um, our other thing here, busy box, right? You see busy box is a high as well too. It shows fault via malform gzip data and ssl, right? So let me clear, let me type in trivi, and then let's do a dash dash help, and let me make this bigger. I think I need to make it bigger for you all. Minimize that one. And then let's make the font bigger. I think, yeah, you can barely see it there. All right, let's go here and do a default font size. Oh, it just took it back to what it was. Nah, it's okay. All right, clear. That looks better. I think that looks better. All right, so now if I do a trivi # help, it's telling me my global options, right? And here are my global options. And then here is the command that I can run, right? Image, file system, scan a repository, a client, a server, a config file, a plugin, and then the target. The target being what am I scanning, right? So I could do an image. Let me see. Let me look at Docker images. Let me see what I have in my Docker. So I got Jenkins. So let's see. Let's clear. It may need to be running, but let's do Docker images again. All right. It looks like it's the repo is Jenkins, and so forth and so on. Let's look and see if I can do that. So let's do trivi # help. All right, so trivi image. Um, And then the target is Jenkins. I think I'm gonna need to download it. Let's see. And actually, let me stop that. Let me clear that and put it up here so I can see what's going on. It may need to, it may look locally. Let me find out. And we get to some stuff. What's going on, Michael? How you doing? What's going on, Kate? How you doing? Let me see what this does. Black Professor Ops, how you doing? All right, there we go. We got a scan done. Michael DeSouza, how you doing? Person C, we miss you too. Glad you're here. Tanya Vaughn, what's going on? I mean, I just want everybody to see what's going on in the world today of DevSecOps. But here we go. All right, look at this. Look at these vulnerabilities. Now look at this now. Let's look. We have 7 highs, 5 criticals, 96 lows. I would want to get that down. 4 mediums. Now, this Jenkins came from the Docker repository. Now take this and deploy it into your production site, and see if security don't hit you up real quick, right? Security's gonna hit you up. In fact, this should fail. Let me tell you why. You shouldn't even deploy this, because if you have your pre-commit set up and you have Trivy as part of your pre-commit script, it should scan it and automatically tell you you can't even commit this to the Docker registry. It shouldn't even let you do that. That's how you stop that. Right? So we did our own scan. So as a developer or as and I'm using air quotes because people seem to, these job descriptions these days are like, hey, if you're doing, and we talked about this Monday, if you're creating infrastructure as code, you're a software developer. I don't look at you as a software developer, me personally, because I've been through software development. We're not creating or using data structures, or let me repeat that. Let me say it a different way. We're not taking and doing data structures and creating algorithms in infrastructure. We utilize some code that would allow us to use a data structure, but we're not using a data structure, right? So that's my view. That's my take. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. For those that don't like it, hey, kick rocks and catch fire. I'm just playing. But that's my thought process behind it, right? That's my thought process behind it. I didn't do my normal intro. Let me go back because I just kind of started. If you don't know who we are, we're Women in Linux. You can find us at womeninlinux.org. If you would like to shop with us, you can shop with us online at womeninlinux.org by hitting shop. Let me go do that now because I didn't do that before. My intermission. This is my commercial break. This is my live commercial. All right. You can shop with us. You get shop with us by hitting shop. Once you get there, you hit all products. You get the chance to see all products for us. Do you have this on the screen? We got to get it on the screen. Come on, background drum major in the back. Come on now. All right. You hit all products, right? Once you once you get once you get to shop, hit all products, you see all our stuff. If you want to connect with us, you hit connect. You join the Slack group. Hey, you know what it is when you hit the Slack group. Hey, let me tell you this now. If you are looking for a lot of information, join the Slack group. If you don't want to be bothered, don't join the Slack group. I'm telling you now. I post every day, all day. Everybody who's part of our Slack group will tell you I post every day, all day. The South got something to say, right? I'm from the South, and that's my and I'm story, and I'm sticking to it. South got something to say. All right. Donate. You can always donate with your time. You can donate with money. You can also donate by doing a meetup. Like if you want to do a live with us, or you want to do a collab with us, or what have you, that's we appreciate you, right? That's where it's at. Without further ado, oh yeah, and if you want one-on-one, you can hit us up on Calendly. I always want to screw that word up, but you can hit us up on Calendly for a one-on-one career guidance, resume, uh, uh, just you just want to talk, what have you. And some people just come on and just want to talk just to clear out their head on what they're doing and where they're going. So hey, that's where we're at. All right. So now let's get back to it. Let's get back to our vulnerabilities that we found. Right. Let's go see what those highs are. All right. So one high is glibc. glibc is well-known library, glibc, and it's probably the 24-bit, the 32-bit library there, because it didn't say glib 64. That's a high in glibc, and then within that is this particular one. All right, and so then we have a high with another one with glibc, another critical, and this is libc bin, libc bin, libc 6. Hold on. Curl has a critical, a high, and a medium. Let's scroll down. libgmp 10 has a high. What's going on, Black Professor? How you doing?
No, I'm
Professor,
doing all right.
wow,
D had me in jail. She wouldn't let me out. I'm here now. No, it's just, of course, you killing it. But when you were talking about the security report going to the security team versus I guess the SRE or the developer, we always get in this slight disagreement that is you're special. I need to see that report too, because my developers be lost. They be confused because some of that you a stick person, some of that you can get a compensated control. They don't know anything about them controls, so I need to look at it. So,
well, I sent it to you, but no, before I push this container to my repository, first off, I need to secure the container first anyway. First, I need to make sure it's rootless, a rootless container, and then I need to make sure that it has all the vulnerabilities taken care of. Then when I send it to my registry needs to be doing a constant scan of the containers that are there. So that way, if I go to pull a container that may have been sitting there for a month, I shouldn't deploy that container, because I'm not doing nothing but opening up my landscape, right? My footprint. So we gotta make sure that we, as people who are building infrastructure or even supporting a platform or what have you, we gotta take care of it ourselves, right?
the only thing I worry about is, as you well know, the business sometimes want to push it out with a couple small criticals because they trying to make money, right? They trying to hit these things. So sometimes they might put nobody can pressure you, but some less experienced people get nervous and push it.
Oh, they pressure me all the time. I just be
Security,
like,
but you would
well,
tell them
you
no
really want to
though.
do that? Yeah, I like,
Right.
you really want to do that.
That fact. Most people be like, okay, boss. Then when they get hacked, they're gonna blame us. So that's why sometimes security want to see you a veteran in the game. I don't have to worry about you. Young people, I be like, this fool gonna push it out here. I'm gonna have to fire this dude today. So that's why I want to see it as soon as you see it.
Let me see. Let's see now if we can correct this. I think it may be. I think I may be able to correct this. Oh, I can't. Let me see. I think I got to do Docker run. Then the IT. Let me do that. Order matters. We do it? Yep. All right, let's clear that. All right, so we are in, let me type in app. So here we go. Now if I do an app get update, and I'm just gonna, oh, I don't like that. Hold on. I gotta do roots. No sudo command. Uh-oh.
No, security's not happy.
Uh-oh. I don't even,
Security's not happy.
I know I can't do sudo. Well, maybe I can run just the sudo. Let me see.
Just run it as root.
I can't. Well, I probably can get in as root, but I
You
can't.
can. You
I can't sudo to root. But I'm gonna have to figure out how to log into this container as the user root. Maybe. Let me see. As user roots. Let me see. Is it -u?
so what is your role right now? You the SRE of this container? Is that what you would call yourself?
No, I'm right now. I am. I would call myself um, the person who's building the infrastructure, so the infrastructure engineer,
Okay.
and I want to deploy a Jenkins container into our dev environment. Before I deploy my Jenkins container into this dev environment, I'm going to have in my pre-commit script Trivy run to see if there is any vulnerabilities.
Mm-hmm.
I find there are vulnerabilities. So one thing I can do is take what I already have and update it, or again, we get into immutable infrastructure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Really, what should happen is I download the latest container that may have the latest OS and the latest version of Jenkins, right? And then from there, I then go back and run trivia again on that. So that's really what should happen. Or you have a or you have a repository, or you build use a Docker file to build the latest and greatest or what have you. So there's a couple of ways that could be looked at if you wanted that. That's from the standpoint of me as the infrastructure engineer. From the standpoint of me being the security person, I, the infrastructure person, didn't care about all these criticals. I don't have anything set up. I go ahead and use that same container that we've been using for the past 6 months. I deploy it in 5 different regions.
Mm-hmm.
Security comes through and scan. People are using this particular container amongst in production, and they have workloads and pipelines
Mm-hmm.
that they've already set up in Jenkins, and I can't bring it back down. Then what?
Well, I guess I'm old. We usually have our Sunday midnight to 5 a.m. You get to do what you want to because we shut down operations for maintenance. So for my operations, we shut down. But like you said, a lot of people worldwide nonstop, but we do a 5 hour on Sunday. So we would try to bring it down. So I guess
But
from my perspective is from a pseudo perspective, that infrastructure engineer would only have certain pseudo commands, right? Just to do their job.
yeah, or again, like I say, it won't let me do that. Dash user. Let me see. Let me clear. I don't know why I did it right there.
Because I've been called too prescriptive with my cybersecurity. They said I'm too old school because I'm strictly STIGs and how I move. That's too prescriptive for today's agile environment. Me and some young guy got in discussion. So I'm trying to learn from you so I can be a little more malleable and agile in this
So
world.
there's a gamut of which you can look at, right? You can say you can get, and we're going to talk about it too, right? You can get people to set up their pre-commit scripts,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
in their pre-commit scripts, they'll go to do this deployment, but it'll stop them because the formatting isn't right, the linting isn't done
Mm-hmm,
correctly,
mm-hmm.
the security of the container or the infrastructure that you're building isn't right. um you don't have the latest and greatest version of X, Y, and Z when you're doing this. So in your pre-commit scripts, we're talking best practices for
Right.
you as the individual, excuse me, as that worker. So here I can do an update. I logged in as that root user. So now I'm gonna do an update, and then we're gonna do a scan again. All right, so it looks like it updated everything, right? So let's do this. Let's open up another screen. Now I have to do a Docker. Let me see, Docker PS. And so right now, Jenkins latest is being ran here. So now I need to Docker commit, and we'll just do a dash dash help because I want to commit this back to myself. So here's
So
the commit. Go ahead.
so you a Docker or Kubernetes, or you using them together?
I'm just using Docker just itself.
Okay, because I know some people. I'm a Java guy, so I'm supposed to prefer Docker. I think C sharp people prefer Kubernetes more. Then I seen some
So
people using them together.
where they are. So basically, here's Kubernetes right here. Here's my Kubernetes cluster right here that I have up, and here's the uh, set of nodes that I have out here on DigitalOcean that I deployed. Um, and I was going to show how I use
Hmm.
and Terraform Cloud and Git Lab together to do a deployment in DigitalOcean and the setup that it took in order to do that. But we're on another kick right now, so that's okay. But with that being said, um, the the Jenkins container that I have right now, I can update it, commit it to my registry, and actually I can commit it to this Docker. I mean this registry out here in GitLab. Once I commit it out there to GitLab, I can go into my files folder here and I can write a actual stage to say, hey, read from my Docker registry, which is local, and take that and deploy this container that I pushed up into onto my Kubernetes cluster. And oh, by the way, open up these ports. And from that point on, I can sit here and web browse to Jenkins, whatever domain name that I specify or what have you. And now I have an application that's running on my Kubernetes cluster, and I can write it up where it's maintaining 3 pods at one time, or whatever the case may be, however I want to write that up. But I'll have high availability in my Kubernetes cluster because my Kubernetes cluster automatically comes with high availability in a single region. I need to point that out. It's in a single region. If I want to have if I want to have a Kubernetes cluster in another region, I need to set it up so it's high availability between those two Kubernetes clusters, and then I use a load balancer to then send my traffic back and forth to those clusters. However, I want to wait those out.
Is that an AWS region? Like when you say region?
Yeah, so yeah, just like a region in AWS, just like you got
Okay,
what
no, that's fine.
yeah, what'd you say?
No, that's cool. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Just, I mean, just it's the same setup. It'll
Okay,
be the same setup here
okay.
inside of not Kubernetes, but inside of DigitalOcean. So then there's another thing that gets a complicated layer, right? You got zones and then you got regions.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
then
Mm-hmm.
you may just be you may be good in one region, but you may not be good in a
Oh,
zone as
facts,
far as
facts,
high availability in
facts.
the
Yeah.
zone. And drop a one in the comments if all this is making sense to you or it's new to you and you still can keep up or
Cause
you got questions.
right,
If
because
you
you
got
talking
questions,
about
you
like you
need to
said,
write.
regions, availability zones, local hosts. I mean, the AWS got that
Yeah. So
whole
here,
setup. Yeah.
so let's go since we're playing in DigitalOcean. All right. Let's look at DigitalOcean um, regions and zones. Right. So here we go right here. All right. So here's how it's set up uh for their stuff, right? So DigitalOcean has their droplets, and so DigitalOcean is out of New York, so that's why they probably start with everything in New York first. So here's New York 1, 2, and 3, and then they have AMS Amsterdam, and then they have San Francisco, London, France, Toronto, and then BLR or Bangalore. Okay, so this is how their stuff is set up, right? So if I deploy a Kubernetes cluster here, right, and I have my applications running here, and something happens to New York,
Mhm.
I need to make sure that I got something set up over here so that even then the people who are in New York can still get to my application, right?
Facts.
Right. And then the other piece to this is, um, and this is gets this gets into uh, edge computing, right? So with edge computing, I may deploy an application here, but majority of my traffic, or say a certain time of the day, I get traffic that's really heavy in San Francisco. I don't want people coming from San Francisco to come all the way over here to New York. So I may create something in my infrastructure to spin up
Hmm.
for traffic to spin up in San Francisco, right? So this is where we get into it. GCP, when you look at GCP zones versus regions, right? And here we go with GCP. All right, so when we're looking at regions and zones, here right here, for example, US West One is a region for that, and then they actually got a picture. That's what I really
Hmm.
want to show is the picture of it, so you can understand the difference between regions and zones.
Yeah,
Let's see.
yeah, I understand that for AWS, but you done named like three other cloud
Yeah,
providers.
I'm showing it to you right now.
No, it's good. It's good. I'm good. I'm good.
Oh, why is that picture blurred out? Okay,
Yeah,
here we
yeah.
go. All right, so here it is right here, right? You have a multi-region, right,
Mm-hmm.
that they're showing, right? And then you got a region, right? You got Europe, multi-region, and then you got a region like Europe West Two is a region. But suppose that, and then you got different zones in there. But suppose something goes out in this region, right? You still want to be able, and it's not likely that all of these zones
No.
will go out, and it's not likely all of these regions go out, but it could happen. I mean, then we just have a failure the other day. Didn't somebody just go down the other day? Was it Netflix
It
or
was
who?
Netflix.
It was Netflix.
It's Netflix.
Yeah. So that's what they want to show there,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? And they just want to show you how, again, you got access, developers have access to 16 and 34 regions, zones and regions.
Facts.
So that's what they're showing.
Facts. Facts. Facts.
And so it's the same way with AWS. AWS has the
Hmm.
same thing,
Yeah,
zones and regions.
because they got region zones and they got some kind of wavelength, which is crazy.
Yeah, that was new.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So,
FYI, did anybody sign up for AWS reInvent? It's happening next week. I went through and signed up.
I usually just catch the replay, but
Oh, it's free.
I guess and they got like 30, things going on at one time.
I know.
Are you
I'm trying.
presenting or you just going? You keep you
I'm
just
I'm
present.
just I'm just going.
Okay, okay.
I ain't
Yes.
presenting.
Because I was looking at wavelength on AWS and I was looking at the outpost, which was the two
Yep,
thing.
yep. I'm
So
looking at Outpost right here.
so
So here it is, right here for
yeah, yeah.
AWS. Right, each region is a separate geographic area and
Hmm.
is completely independent. Each region is a physical location around the world with clustered data systems. Each Amazon region is designed to be completely isolated from other regions. Communication between regions is across the public internet, and appropriate measures should be taken, right? And then you
Hmm.
get into zones, right? Each region consists of multiple isolated locations known as availability zones, right? And then they
Hmm.
talk about what each zone has and so forth. Now,
Hmm.
when you get back over here to Digital Ocean, I think they still stuck on region. I think they got some zones somewhere, but it probably just in New York, not across everything. I think they're still working on that piece. I could be wrong, but that's where they're at, right? So, okay, back to our vulnerability. Where's our thinking at? All right, so yeah, we need to commit this. So the Docker container is still running. We've updated that Docker container. So, but now what we want to do is we want to commit this back to our repo, and I should be able to commit it back to here to my local repo. And then when we do that, we can scan it again. I'm making scan it while it's running. Let me clear. Let me do let me clear. Let me do a trivia help. All right, so scan. I may be able to do it. So let's see what happens here. Let's see if we still get the same results. Let me do a Docker PS. And the container name is over here. So let me make it smaller so I can get this name. Hardcore beans. All right, so let's do a trivia image hardcore beans. And it may take it. Let's find out. Yeah, then errors cannot be yeah, okay. Yeah. So it's no image of that. So I need to it's looking for an image. So yeah, I need to commit this image back. All right. So now in order to commit that image, I'm gonna do a Docker commit. It's gonna give me what I need. So it's Docker commit. Oh yeah. It's hardcore bins underscore bins. And then the repository slash Jenkins. And I'll say E1. All right. Now that is done. I should be able to do a Docker images. We see the V1 there. All right. So now what I'm going to do now is do a trivia. And then I'm going to do an image. And then I'm going to do Jenkins slash Jenkins. But now I'm going to put the V1 tag on the end of it. And now I'm going to let it do its scan. And let's see if we
I
get
got one.
any vulnerabilities. Go ahead.
Yeah, one question. Do you use Terraform and Ansible as interchangeable, or you use them together sometime?
I use them together.
Okay.
And I'll show you how I use them together.
Because I think they're the same. So because I'm kind of
Uh-uh. There's a
newbie.
big fundamental difference between
Okay.
them.
Okay.
All right. So, okay, look, that update that I did now, right? I did an app get update on that Jenkins container and it's running Ubuntu underneath. I came back now with two mediums, right? And it's telling me there's a high on my Golang there, right? But check this out. Golang crypto,
Going crypto.
does it have some type of package? See, user local bin git LFS binary. That's interesting. I would want to remove that because I don't need Golang. I mean, Jenkins doesn't use Golang anyway. I would remove that package and be okay with this medium. But you can get rid of this medium because look, it came out in 2020, right? That medium came out in 2020, and this is a medium from 2012, right? You can get rid of these so you don't have any vulnerabilities in your container. But if I needed to push this to production, I could, but I would want to know what this is, right? I would want to know what this is. So let's go to user local bin.
What if you couldn't push a high to production? What would you do?
Um, you that's what I'm saying. You should have some stop gaps in there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, LF. So this is a directory. Huh? Oh, it's a file. Let's see. LFS. Oh, they don't have a file command in here. All right,
Thanks.
cool. And it's a file. It's some kind of file. And I don't know what Git LFS is. Let's look it up. Let's minimize that. What is Git LFS? Git large files. Storage replaces large files, such as blah 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 blah. Okay. Well, can I remove that? Let's see. App. Um, Git remove. Git LFS. Hmm. It's a binary though. I wonder
Mhm.
which one. Which will now? I know on. Um, I know inside of Rail, you can say which package or what provides, like what provides this LFS package. So Git. Let me see, LFS package remove. Let me see if somebody else has that to uninstall that. Let's see. Let's see. I'm like Git LFS uninstall. Mm, I'm looking it up right. I'll bring my screen over here in a minute once I find out what it is, because I don't really need that. I guess you probably need it underneath for Jenkins, but for us, we just want to get rid of this critical. We just want to get rid of this high. And so it says Git LFS uninstall. That's clear. It says Git LFS uninstall. Okay. Okay. Well, we're still there. Let's go back and do our thing again. And let's commit. Oh, actually I should have did two, but that's okay. I've already committed it. And now let's just do a trivia one. I should have did version two. It's probably gonna still find that binary though. And then give me issues with that binary. Make sure I read this. Cybersecurity people, blah 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 blah. See, yeah, it's still looking at that binary.
Is Trivy
Oh,
sticking? What is it doing?
so Trivy is scanning for vulnerabilities.
Stig CIS or just best practices?
It's vulnerabilities based upon the NIST database.
Okay, okay.
Yep. So what it does, let's go over here, wherever, there we go. Let's go over here and look at Trivia, which I had it up on the screen, but I don't know what I did with it. Go here, right? It's from Awkward Security.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So if we drop down here, you can see it'll scan images. It can scan the file system too.
Mhm.
Vulnerability detection in a container image. Um, so again, if you just want to scan the image, you can scan the image. If you want to check for on the file system vulnerabilities and misconfigurations, so you can check for security checks. So here with Trivy FS file system, that's their security checks, then check for vulnerabilities and so forth. And then maybe you have some configurations, it'll check that. It'll check your Docker file as well too. And it tells you right here, it checks Alpine Linux. Let's scroll back down, did I make it too big? Here you go. It says Alpine Linux, Red Hat UBI, Red Hat Enterprise CentOS, Oracle, Debian, Ubuntu, Amazon Linux, and so forth. And then Linux specific packages as well. And the infrastructure as code scanning. A wide variety of built in policies are provided out of the box for Docker, Terraform, and more. So it scans for a misconfiguration inside of your Terraform file, which you should take that and have this inside of your pre commit script before you launch. And that way, when you go to launch, if you have any vulnerabilities in your Docker container and your Ruby gems or your Go or your Maven, or even in Cargo is used for Rust. That's your people's and npm for is that in that npm node and react or react, that's just no, that's node. And then composer, I'm not sure if composer, I'm not sure what composer falls under. I know Go has this in Maven. But anyway, you're going to check for any of your misconfigurations and then fix it, right? It's an easy installation. You can install this with app get installed. And I did a brew install because I'm on a Mac in order to do this, right? So that's where we're at with that, right? So now we when we get these vulnerabilities, I can say, well, don't install, don't install this Docker container. Don't push this Docker container to my Docker registry. So now that I have, let's say I send this off to security, you come back and say I see that high, but it's not going to affect anything. You're not going to use it or whatnot. I see that medium. Don't worry about that medium. Let's get this pushed on out, right? Let's say you say that. Let me see. Of course, scroll up. Let me clear and run it one more time. All right, yeah. See low, unknown, patch, open SSH client is a high. We can fix that one. It's not reporting like it normally was. Let me see. Oh, it still gave me 7 criticals. Okay, so we got to fix it. It still gave me the criticals and the highs. And it gave me, if we keep scrolling, it gave me this one as a critical. But the jar files, it gave a medium. But these up here, it gave high. So let's go back. And let's do app a Git upgrade. And let's do a dashboard. Right, so now it should be upgrading some stuff. It don't look like I got whatever. Let me see. Let me do a clear. Let's do open SSH. So open SSH. I wonder what that is. Let's look at how do you do this in Debian. How do you find all the dev packages and give me release numbers? So all Debian packages and release. Let's
I'm
see.
good.
And
I'm good to drop down. Thank you.
you're
I
welcome.
think again, it's we definitely gonna have to hook up and figure out what I can do for you because I'm gonna need some Terraform training. So
Yeah, we're gonna do some Terraform tonight.
okay,
Um, I walk.
I,
I'm gonna walk. I'm gonna walk through it.
okay, I'm great. My one and only son's trying to get in my liquor cabinet. I'll be right back. I'm gonna be in the I'll be in the chat. Thanks.
No problem. I don't want to check my Debian version. I want to find all the Debian packages and their releases. Find all Debian packages and releases. Yeah, I tried to make the screen as big as I can. I'm not on my go-to mean. On my go-to mean, you can make your screen bigger. Uh, but let's see, package management. We know it's app get. Let's see, but that's fine. That's fine. But I just want to get. I want just to do a one, but I'll grab this. Let's just grab open SSH. So we have 1.8 4P15, right? And over here, they're saying that a high was on libgmp10. Let me scroll down here. Open SSH client. Yep. It says it was escalated. Let's go. This is 2021. Let's go over here and check out the CVE for that. Why is it screaming on that CVE from 2021? All right. It's saying that the vulnerability has been modified since it was last you analyzed in NVD. It is awaiting a reanalysis, may result in further changes. OpenSSH 6.2 through 8.8 looks like it has a high, right? Um, let's see, known weakness, blah blah blah, change history. Let me see, references and solutions, third party mailing list, track the issue. So it's an ongoing issue. Looks like they don't have a solution just yet because I did an app get upgrade. Let me do an app get search. I don't think there's any other see app get I don't think there's any other packages. Um, I may have to go and download those packages. I may can do that, but then that gets into um that gets into vulnerabilities. I mean, that gets into, you may have to update other packages. And I don't want to do all that because it's not associated with this one. So let's go back over here. Let's do open SSH. All right. So we got open SSH client. So it looks like open SSH client, the latest and greatest is that one. It's installed, it's automatically, that is the latest and greatest. So by default, that's the latest and greatest for them. So we're gonna roll with this for now. All right. So inside of Git Lab, there's what we called a actual registry. So you can see here you have a package registry, and then you have a container registry. So here's my container registry. Now, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna bring my screen over. I'm gonna do exactly what it says here. I'm gonna do a Docker login from command line. I am then going to, because I've already committed this, I don't need to build it. I'm now going to take this and do a Docker push. All right. So let me do a Docker login. I may have to put in I may have to put in my token. I actually have a token, but I may need to create a token. All right. So let me go here. 1 second. Let me do a Docker login. It says I don't have Docker installed. Oh, I'm on the wrong screen. I'm on my, that's in my container. Hold on. All right. And let me grab this because I may need my token, and my token I have saved, and I can't show you my token. I could, but then that means I have to make tokens all over again, and I'm lazy and I don't feel like doing that. It's making my tokens all over again, so you just have to bear with me for one quick second. So in settings I can show you this part. In settings on your GitLab, you can go to settings, and then once you get the settings, you hit CI/CD. Once you hit CI/CD, you hit expand, and here are your variables that you can set. I have variable set, so I'm going to grab my variable here for my Docker login, wherever my Docker can file just went. I don't know where it just went. It just disappeared on me here. Let me go back to GitLab. I don't know where it disappeared to. Go. Disappeared on me. And if you got any questions, let me know. What's going on, Linda D? How you doing? Oh, I don't know why you trying to watch this on the phone. You gonna always be lost trying to watch it on the phone. All right. So let me get my variable, and let me reveal my stuff, and I am deploying to here, so I need this guy. And let me see if it'll let me log in. Okay. I'm in. Okay. So now I have my Docker container ready to go. I am now going to bring my screen back over and show you the registry that is empty. And then you'll get a chance to see how it gets deployed. Right? So now let's come back to the screen here. So I have my Docker images. I have this Docker Jenkins version 1 that's up there. Right. I could change it to version 2, which I should have, but I didn't. I've already logged into my Docker login to this particular container registry. So now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do what the next step is. I don't need to build because I already built. I'm going to do exactly what they say here. So I can actually, excuse me, cut and paste that. And let me bring my screen back up. I'll back that out, right? So watch this. All right, so use the default latest image does not is it right? So that's not it, right? So you do when you do a Docker push, you're gonna know how to do a dash help here. So it's Docker push the options that you want. Basically, I want to push. Um, I don't want to push all. I just want a Docker push and then push an image to a repository to a push an image or a repository to a registry. So now I want to take this and I need to add what I want to push, right? So what I want to push is um, Docker push registry, and then I want to do Jenkins slash other way. All right, all right. Jenkins, and then colon because the tag is V1. Let's see. Oh, Docker push requires exactly one argument. Oh, that's because I didn't commit it to it. All right, so here we go. Let's go back to history, right? So when I did this Docker commit, I should have did Docker commit here. And let's do a Docker commit on um, I need to commit it locally here first, and then I need to do a Docker push. So yeah, so I need to do a Docker commit on Jenkins slash Jenkins, and then version 1, and then this registry that I had right here. So let me get rid of that Docker push. So now I'm committing this to this registry. Error response, no such container, Jenkins version 1. Yes, it is. Do a Docker PS. I mean, Docker images. There is a Jenkins V1. Commit to the will demo registry. What are you complaining about? It don't need to be latest. Error response, no container. Running. Okay, so let me do a Docker PS. We're gonna grab this one here. Maybe taking the running container. See? Yep. It's taking the running container, not the image that's running. All right. So now when I do, I'm gonna clear this. I'm gonna do a Docker images now. And you should see now that I have this here, right? So now what I've committed it to that registry. Now I need to do this Docker push. That's what that comes into play. So now I'm gonna clear and then do that. And now you see that the container that's sitting locally in my on my machine is now being pushed to my registry out on Git Lab. I've updated it. There's still some vulnerabilities in there that have to be fixed, but for all intents and purposes, these are the things that you can walk through and figure out how to do that. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody too, right? So now we have this container that's being pushed up. The screen right here behind this is going to change, and you'll see a container sitting there with a version 1 in it. And I can now that I have that container in my repo, I can go one step further. Everything I've been running on command line, I can now go into my Git Lab YAML file, and I can change that and say, hey, before you deploy that container, run Trivy on that container for me, right? I can do a D&D. It's called Docker in Docker, where you can do a container in a container to run this. I can also set it up where my runners themselves that are out on DigitalOcean Instead of having runners in DigitalOcean, I can have runners in AWS. I can have runners in whatever. And then with those runners that I have sitting out there, I can configure those runners with whatever security tools that I want. And when it goes to deploy, those this Docker image will get downloaded to that bare metal, or I shouldn't say bare metal machine, but it gets downloaded to that instance that sits in AWS. I run a scan on that, and it gives me takes those results and push those results to some repo or some S3 bucket, and then I can use some other tool to pull those results in from the S3 bucket, and then say, okay, here we go. Here's what your issues are. And so security gets a whiff of that. I get a whiff of that, or the team gets a whiff of that. We work, to correct those areas and those errors or those critical highs, and then go from there. And let me know if this has been good for you all. Let me know, does this make sense? Right? Let me know. All right, so it's still doing this thing, right? So it hasn't finished. Okay, see, you see it? You see how it changed? That's what will happen. Right? It's not finished yet, but you can see that it changed, right? From what it was before. And it's still pushing. It's still pushing that up. It's pushing that image up to that registry. All right, so how did all this come to be? What are we doing? And why do we even care? Right. Well, let's look at it from here, because I think I can make this a little bigger. Here's my main.tf. Oops. All right. So this is my DigitalOcean. This is my main.tf, right? So when we're talking about Terraform, we're talking about creating infrastructure as code, right? Infrastructure as code, IAC, right? So let's go to Terraform's website. Um, I didn't mean to go to the registry. Let's go to Terraform's website. It's hashy. So here's Terraform. Write it, which is what we do. We write this code. Thank you. Oh yeah. This is what I do all day. You're supposed to handle errors, right? Um, you write the code, right? First, let's back up. You don't write anything first. You analyze what you need first. You look and see what the requirements are. You gather the requirements. You come up with a plan. Once you come up with that plan, we have what we call our backlog. And this gets into Jira and sprints, but I'll give you this as an overview. Um, okay, backlog. Creating a backlog. Right? So here you talk to the product owner first. Who's the product owner? Your customer. The customer could be external, it could be internal. You then say what is the goal you're trying to achieve, right? The big picture. And you take that big picture and you make it into small pictures, small tasks, right? You may start with an epic where you need time to uh, you may say, I want to build an AKS cluster out in Azure. And the AKS cluster may have a certain set of requirements that you need, right? You need a particular CPU, a particular GPU. You may need to have a particular network module that you want to use, Calico versus Flannel or what have you. And this gets into Kubernetes, is what I'm doing. And then the other thing that you may be doing with this, you may be getting into um, a particular OS. It may be a Linux OS, where it may be Red Hat, it may be Ubuntu, it may be Windows, right? So when we're looking at this is what we're talking about. You need to gather the requirements for the customer. After you gather those requirements, we have what we call here this backlog, right? Step one, the backlog. Step two over here is, basically they're breaking down, like this right here is a breakdown of what that ticket is, or in our case, that issue, right? So you can see you have 7 issues in this, that's probably going into this sprint, right? And so you have a to do, and then you got a workflow that you create. So there's somebody job to handle the backlog. We usually call those people the scrum master. All right, those scrum masters are the ones that take care of making sure we're moving at the proper velocity and making sure we're closing out our tickets. Some people do 1 week sprints, some people do 2 week sprints, some people do 3 week sprints. It's all depending upon your team and the velocity in which you think your team can handle that, right? And go from there. The next thing we do after we have our backlog, you can see here where we create some issues, right? We got a story, right? You have a story, you have an epic. If you're not sure about what I'm talking about, you need to go look on Scaled Agile Framework. And I'm telling you that now, because it has a very nice little simple setup here. Let's go here and look at Scrum Master. And then they break down what a Scrum Master does and so forth, right? You see, I clicked on the picture and it took me to this, right? So if I go back over here and I want to talk about my Agile Teams, here's my Agile Teams, infrastructure, legal guidance, so forth. And then they start talking about the roadmap and continuous delivery, continuous integration, um, and also pipelines, right? And so they get into all of this. So you can find out about what each one of these mean. Again, agile teams are cross-functional, defined, build, test, deploy. Inside of all of this, what you don't see is security. You need to have define, build. Your pre-commits need to have some security in there. Your testing needs to have some security. And you know what else you need security testing? Production, right? You need production. Remember I talked about this weekend, uh launching darkly launching. The company is called uh darkly launching. I think they call it launching darkly. Don't get me wrong, I'll get them back. Launch darkly is the name of the company. The name of what I'm talking about is dark launching. All right, so now what dark launching does, and they don't have it right here. Let me go here, define, try to guide to dark launching, right? They got it right here, that's fine. Dark launching Dark launching is a process that allows you to release production ready software features to small groups of users while hiding them from the rest of the user base prior to a full release. A dark launch can also provide deploying code to a production environment, but without exposing it to production traffic, right? You also need continuous security scans in production, right? You want continuous security scans in production. And I get this to D, and D can drop this link for you all if I can find out where the back end is at. Here it is. All right. So let's get back to what we were doing before. We were talking about creating issues. So that's an issue. All right. The next thing we do after we create the issues, right? We have to assign points to them. And it's called the Fibonacci sequence. Those that are not familiar, here it is right here. All right. You're going to assign points to a story. If you got a story, if you got a issue that's 144 points, then it shouldn't be on your board, right? You really want to stick anything below a 5, right? Zeros, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. 13 probably needs to be broken up into a 8 and a 5 or smaller subtasks, right? You want to keep them as small as you can because the goal is to finish, right? The goal is not to beat you up. The goal is to finish, right? So that's what we're talking about here. DevSecOps. What do I mean by that? Why do I tell you to learn Linux first? For the troubleshooting that I just did, right? For the troubleshooting that I just did, right? If you started off and you never touched, all you did was deploy, you wouldn't know to go update this or update that or troubleshoot this or how, what's going on, why this, that, and other, right? So these are the things that's why I say start there first. Next thing you do is learn automation tool. First automation tool to learn is Ansible, and that's configuration management tool. And then the third tool is Terraform, and Hashi has a suite of products: Terraform, Packer, Vault, and Console. All go hand in hand, right? When we're talking about that, Vault for secrets, Console for service discovery and service mesh. You have Boundary as well too. And you have Packer for creating machine images and creating Docker containers as well too. And then you have Vault for, I said that secret. Oh, then you have Terraform for building out the infrastructure, which is what we're doing, right? So now you have these issues that you've created and say, we want to build a Kubernetes cluster inside of DigitalOcean. Step one, I need credentials to DigitalOcean. Step two, how many clusters do we want to have out there? Let's just get one cluster deployed. Okay, what are the security vulnerabilities surrounding that cluster? Oh, I need to scan my cluster as well too. I also need to make sure that the cluster itself, because Kubernetes itself is made up of Docker containers. How do I know? Well, let me show you. All right, so we're done with this. You see, it's done. It's pushed. So let's go back over here to my registry. Let me make sure I'm looking right here. Can you see? No, that's settings. Analytics, container registry. You see, I got the one tag, and if I go here, see, I have that up there. Right? You see that, and then it gives me a little bit more information about this. And what's cool about this, I can pull from this Docker registry. I can share this with someone else, and they can pull from this Docker registry too. Okay. All right, so we have it up here. Let's go back to our main.tf. So in our main.tf, we have this resource keyword right here. Let's go back over here to Kubernetes. Well, that's the Kubernetes there, but let's close this down. So I talked about this. You should be going to this link here, and just learning the different roles that people play in an organization. And each one of these roles, this is what's cool about this, is a job, right? System engineering, product management, product owner, scrum master, agile teams, CI, understanding CI CD, customer focused customers, design thinking. Albert talked about this. I talked about this. What is a Kanban board? What is an epic? What is an enabler? KPIs, SLAs, metrics, milestones, roadmaps, vision, like all this. If you go full, this is just portfolio. If you go full on here, you see lean portfolio management, agile product delivery, team of technical agility, continuous learning culture, right? Core values, safe principles. This is just safe agile. Don't pay attention to that. Pay attention to what each position does. And then I challenge you to go look at these positions where it says enterprise architect, then go on to Indeed or levels 5i or whatever, levels FYI, or whatever, and start looking up what each position, the job description is compared to what they have described here, and look at the number of years or look at the number of technical skills you need to have. You want to talk about a roadmap? That's a roadmap, right? All right, look, DevOps over here, and they got security at the center. It's wrapped throughout, right? You can click on that, and you can see continuous exploration, continuous integration, continuous deployment, release on demand, not release every 6 months, not release once every year, but release once a week, twice a week, whatever your release schedule is, should be frequent, right? But you should do it with the security focus in mind. And here's why I talk about DevSecOps. Remember, I told you it's the sweet spot where you can get into anything. Continuous learning and experimentation, release on demand, continuous exploration, continuous integration, continuous deployment. Know these terms. Even if you are a developer, you still need to know these terms. If you work with data engineering, you still need to know these terms. You need to understand how what your position is on the team and how teams work, right? This is what we talk about, right? And then they get into more about DevOps, enables continuous living. They even break down a little bit more in here, metrics and so forth, right? And then understanding the DevOps maturity, right? The health radar. What does that look like? So very informative here, if you want to know more about it, right? All right. So now we talked about DevOps, and we talked about your backlog and creating an issue, an epic, a story. Uh, we even talked about Azure regions and redundancy, high availability with GCP, AWS, and so forth. I didn't talk about Azure. I take that back. And you're welcome, Princess C, for the content. But now, why talk about Terraform? Hmm. What's the difference between Terraform? What's the difference between Ansible? All right. So there's this special thing that Terraform has that Ansible doesn't have, and it's called the state. So let's look at Terraform versus Ansible. And this is K21 Academy talking about it. I prefer to show you images so you can see it visually. All right. So let's go here. Wiz Labs. Let's look at Wiz Labs. All right. So Wiz Labs has an actual diagram. Let me see. Here we go, right here. All right. Ansible versus Terraform. I'll blow this up. All right. Ansible is a configuration management tool. In other words, I deploy my infrastructure. And don't get me wrong, you can deploy infrastructure with Ansible, but it doesn't know the state of the infrastructure. When I say the state of the infrastructure, if I say, hey, Ansible, deploy me 15 machines, it's going to deploy me 15 machines. If I say, hey, Ansible, deploy me, change the name of one of those machines without some manipulation, it's not going to change the name for me. Now I can get it to change the name. I could use the AWS command and find an ID and change the name. I can do that. What you say? Oh, you're fine. But then the other part of it is we don't have we don't have the state of the infrastructure. So Terraform allows you to hold state. So here, Terraform is an orchestration tool, like Kubernetes is an orchestration tool or an orchestration tool for containers. So here, and Ansible provides support for mutable infrastructure, where Terraform provides support for immutable infrastructure. Right? Ansible is procedural. There has been talk that Terraform can be declarative. There's been talk that, let me say this. There's been talk that Ansible can be declarative or procedural. It go back and forth, but the main difference most people have is Terraform is declarative versus Ansible is procedural, and there are different things that you can do in Ansible to change the behavior of how Ansible works. So Ansible provides partial VM provisioning, networking, and storage management. Terraform provides comprehensive provisioning, networking, and storage management. Ansible provides complete support for packaging and templating. Terraform doesn't provide a full packaging and templating. They do have some templates. They got some templates in there. As far as packaging, though, that's not what I would use Terraform for. I would use Terraform just to deploy my infrastructure, maybe configure some minimal stuff that I may need, maybe using user data or something like that. And then Terraform is heavily dependent on lifecycle or the state management. And I keep stressing this state, meaning I can, once I deploy something inside of whatever cloud or on-prem environment, because I can use Terraform to deploy with to deploy VMware. I can use Terraform to deploy OpenShift. I can use Terraform to deploy Git Lab, and I'll show you the registry here in a minute. And then, but Ansible doesn't have a lifecycle management. I don't know the state of my infrastructure when it's deployed. That's what they're talking about here, right? So now let's go look at the Terraform providers. The Terraform has a set of providers. So their providers are listed here. You have providers for AWS, Azure, GCP, Alibaba Cloud, Oracle Cloud, Kubernetes, Active Directory, Azure Active Directory, Cloud Init, external. I'm not sure what external is. I looked that one up. Hashi Cloud Platform, Nomad, Oracle Public Cloud, Helm Charts, Console, Google Workspaces, Boundary, Azure Stack. And these are the verified providers that they have. Aquasec, when we're talking about Trivi, it's from Aquasec. JFrog, Aviatrix for networking, Azure DevOps, those that do ARM templates and so forth. And it's 33 pages, a total of 1,630 providers, right? So you come here and you say, I want to deploy to DigitalOcean. So let's type in DigitalOcean. Verified. Boom. You want to stick with the ones that are verified. These are other providers, and not necessarily to say that you can't use them, but if you want to use something that's verified, right? So we're gonna go with the verified one. Does it need time? I don't know why it didn't change. All right, let's go the other way. Terraform registry. All right. So you can see here, Terraform provider, DigitalOcean. You don't have to put in the version, but you do need the source. And it's telling you that this is required, right? But I want to show you something here before we go on down this page. What's the difference between a resource And what's the difference between a data source? The resource is I want to declare and I want to create something, right? The data source is I've already have something out there and I just need for you to pull back information for me. It's already deployed. Pull back the information for me for that particular source, right? So now when I look at resources, all right, you can see now I have a DigitalOcean certificate. I can create a DigitalOcean container registry. I use Git Lab. You can use a container registry in Azure, AWS, what have you. Um, but let's drop down here to droplets. I can do a DigitalOcean droplet. And let's look at a droplet. So this is just a Terraform file that I'm gonna put in main that's gonna create a DigitalOcean droplet. Name it Web 1. It's gonna throw it in the NYC2 region. Here's the size that it's gonna deploy, and here is the image that it's gonna deploy it. I mean deploy, use to deploy. All right. So here, when you see argument reference, these are things or arguments that you can put inside of this resource, right? So you get, and it tells you what's required. Images required, name, region, size. Backups, I don't have to specify that. That's optional, but I could specify a backup, right? Monitoring is optional, but I can specify it. And if you keep going down here, you'll see things that are optional, tags, right? But what you should do is follow Terraform and digital. You should follow Terraform best practices and DigitalOcean best practices or whatever cloud you're doing your deployment in. So that way you're following the best practices from a security standpoint and best practices from a launching standpoint and just being a good steward of deploying and taking care of infrastructure, right? Um, they also have a droplet agent. So what does this droplet agent do? It's a Boolean indicating whether to install DigitalOcean agent for providing access to the web console in the control plane. By default, the agent is installed on all new DigitalOcean on all new droplets, but install errors are ignored. To prevent this from being installed, set it to false. Like I don't want that on my machine. Set it to false. Especially it's set to true by default, right? So if you want to set that to false, you won't be able to control it, web console wise, right? And so then attributes reference are outputs. The first one is inputs, these are outputs. It's just that simple, right? Don't get it all discombobulated in your head. Inputs, what I want you to do, give me the outputs of what you did. Simple. Inputs, outputs. Type in the type in the comments what are attribute references. What is that? Somebody type that in. What is this? All right. The first part is arguments. Arguments are inputs, attributes, or outputs. Simple, right? You have been terraformed. All right. So now I have these outputs that I can get. I can get the name of the droplet, the image that was used. These are things that get stored in my state file where now I can query the state of my infrastructure and get these outputs. All right. These are my outputs that I can get from my file, right? So I'm going to take this. I'm cheating. I'm not going to do a Git Lab push and pull and all of that, right? I'm going to edit right here in the browser. This is cheating, most definitely. In fact, I don't want to do that because that's going to take too long. Let me do this. Do. Let me do this. Let me do this. Where is my thingy? Here we go. Let's cancel that. Let's come here. Let's clear that. Let's do this. Oh, here's my Terraform state. Let's move main.tf to main.tf.org. Let's move output to output.org. And let's move variables over to variables.org. Let's make a directory and let's call it cube. Let's move star.org over to cube. The provider is fine. So let's do now main.tf. Cut and paste that, right? Let's change this to let's just change this to YouTube. We're gonna name it and let's put it in region 1. And that size is fine. Let's go with an updated one, 180420. Let's do 2004. I think that may be a 20. That may be a 64-bit one. I mean, 2020, 21, right? All right. So that's right. Inputs are Nancy are arguments. Outputs are attributes. That's right. Keep that in your head. Right. Don't let nobody confuse you on that. All right. So here I have my provider. There's my DigitalOcean. Notice I didn't put a version because it should pull the latest and greatest. All right. What I don't have is an output. And you can see my Terraform state here. Ansible doesn't give you a Terraform state. So now let's do a vim on output.tf. All right. So here, if we go back to our thing, let's hop down here to our attributes and let's get the IP address, right? Let's just highlight this and let's get our IP address. Where my thingy at? All right, so we're gonna say output IP, and then now we're gonna say value. And I gotta go get some information for you real quick. Hold on, and we're gonna drop down here and do that. But I want to come here. I gotta come back and get this information. I called it DigitalOcean Droplet Web. I need that information because that is providing me the output. Right. So here I'm gonna cut and paste. I'm cheating. This is how you cheat. Right. So what I'm saying is the DigitalOcean Droplet Web IPv4 address. Right. And I don't have any variables specified. I can come in here and do variables.tf. And in here, I could say image. I could literally do like this insert variable image. And I think I'll need a double quote. Let me double verify that. And then I do this. And then in here, I'll say default. And then I say type. And I'll show you what it comes from. And default type and description. They're going to all equal to something. And let me go show you where I get that from. Creating Terraform, not modules, but variables. right? So your variables right here, declaring an input variable. These are inputs that I'm doing. I'm going to declare a variable name image ID of type string. I can do a map. I can do a list. So here's a list. This is how you're specifying what a list for availability zones. I want to do a list and well, a map. It looks like more like a map. But if it was map, would it say map? I think so. Yeah, it says map. So then here's the Terraform for the arguments that you have for a variable. Default, a type, a description, validation, sensitivity. So you may have something for sensitivity. Right? So here's where I got that from. I've just been doing it for so long, I just haven't memorized. Right. But I want to show you where that came from. So in here, I've already connected to DigitalOcean's command line. DOCTL is their command line. But suppose I want to get I want to get different versions of the images. So let's go here. Let's do doctl list images. Here we go. So I take this command and it's going to list the images. What other flags? So the flags say I can put this in columns in separated by values. No header. Public. Default is false. So let's do um let's do let's do dash public. Okay. So we're gonna take this command because I've installed and set this up earlier. And let's do this and do the tag it with a dash public. I want to make this screen a little wider. I think it's going to spew everywhere for me. So now it's contacting DigitalOcean. And you can see that it listed, right? You can see all the things that it listed. But because it's spinning everywhere, it's spewing everywhere, let's do a grep -I ignore on Ubuntu. Should filter for me. All right. So here you can see there's 20. That's a snapshot. Snapshot. These are all snapshots. I need images. That's fine. There's one right there. 2104. So we're gonna change that, right? We're gonna grab that. Let's grab that. So let's clear my screen. Let's do an ls. Let's go to variable.tf. Let's put the default to be this. Right? And let's a string. And then in our description, we'll say latest Ubuntu image. Okay. Let's get rid of this white space. I may need to put this in double quote. May not have to, but I think I'll just to be on the safe side. So now, what I can do now, I can go back to main.tf, and instead of having this here image there, I'm now going to say it's called var.image. So it's going to pull from my variables file my image. So another thing that you should have in your um, inside of your pre-commit is you want your code to be formatted correctly. I'm gonna do a Terraform format, and when I go back and look at my output.tf and any other thing, it corrected the format of my stuff. I mean, it looks like smaller over there. Let me bring this in some so I'm on the screen. And let me make that bigger for you all. It looks a little blurry there. There we go. Right? It looks better. So now let's clear. Show you what I did before. I opened up and I came in here and I changed this image. I searched for the latest image is basically what I did. And then I put in my main.tf, I put a variable in here. So now instead of having everything hard coded, I can go to one file and change everything in that file with a default. But I can also overwrite this with a auto.tf vars or something at command line to overwrite what I have here. So you have to look at the order of operations with this, and we'll discuss this another time. All right. And then my size, I can change that to a variable as well too. All my inputs that I have can be variables. All those inputs are variables. All those outputs I have, I can change those outputs as well too. But here's the one thing that we didn't check. Once I get the machine up, how do I get access to it? Right? So let's go back to our DigitalOcean inputs and let's see what can we set here. Disk, volume, oh, these are attributes. Here we go. Argument, name, region, size, private SSH keys, a list of key IDs or fingerprints to enable. To retrieve info, use the comp. Use this command line. Once a droplet is created, keys cannot be added or removed. So it's going to create the key for me, and I'm going to have to go in and grab that key. That's what it looks like. See, tags, user data. This is where you want to get something loaded into the machine, like you want to do an app get update or yum update or what have you. You can use that in user data. You can also have Ansible log into the machine and do it as well too. Grace will shut down. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna have to once it gets created, we're gonna have to use dot compute SSH key list. All right, that's how we're gonna have to get to it. All right, let's go back over here. All right, so basically we have everything. We have an input, we have an output, we have a provider, and we played around with some variables. So now the way Terraform works, that provider needs to initialize first, right? It needs to pull down information. I didn't create a back end. I could create a back end inside of um, DigitalOcean or what have you using an object store, but I'm not doing it right now. We're just doing input, outputs, get it deployed, and call it good. All right, and then I'll go back and we'll do this inside of Git Lab as well too. I'll show you how Git Lab does it as well too. Maybe I'll show you it another time because we're going on 3 hours here. All right, so Terraform init. Look at Terraform. It's initialized the back end, and then it pulled the provider, and it says the latest and greatest provider is 216 for DigitalOcean. Everything that Hashi does, they is provided inside of GitHub. So you can go look at the provider. You can go read the code. Terraform is written in Go. So you can go read this code. All right. It says, okay, I can run a Terraform plan now. Right. So I'm going to go into some details. So you got to stick with me when I do this. So let's do a Terraform plan. Oh, hold on. Let's do a Terraform validate first. I should have did that first. Success. My configuration and it's the template and everything is successful. So let's do Terraform validate dash dash help. What does that mean? Type that over there, let's. Validate is the configuration, validate the configuration files and refer only to the configuration, not accessing remote services. Validate runs checks that verify whether configuration is syntactically valid and internally consistent, regardless of any provided variables and so forth, right? Is it safe to run it? It is safe to run this command automatically, right? Just check your footwork. That's all. That's all we're doing is checking this stuff. All right, so I validated it. I did a Terraform init. Now we're gonna do what we call a Terraform plan. Should have ran to validate first. All right, so here's some stuff. Everything that's with a plus side are the inputs that it's checking and it's going to deploy. All right, I got backup set to false. Remember, when we come over here, we can have backups as an input. It's a Boolean. So if I wanted it to have a backup, I can set it to true. Well, let's change that because I want this to back up because I'm a good steward of best practices. I'm going back over here to variables.tf. Let's go to variable.tf. And let's do variable backup, and let's I always like to put my extra one down here so I know that it's closed. The default is set to be true for us, and we could say it's of type. They tell you it's a type bool. So look, I'm gonna show you this. I'm gonna show you what if I do bool right here, and I'm gonna put a space there. Right, you see how that lineup is off, right? I could put a description in if I want to, but I don't have to. Right. So let's clear. Let's do a Terraform format of output. And let's do a cat on output. Coming out of output, Terraform format on variable.tf. Sorry. All right. Now let's do Terraform format of variable.tf. And now let's clear it. Well, let's leave it right here. And let's, all right. You see how up here it was off, right? It wasn't lined up. The formatting allows your stuff to line up. Clean code. You want to add clean code. All right. So now I have that variable in there, but I need to go to my main.tf and I need to set backup, and I can overwrite it to be something else, but we'll just put true. Right. I could say false or true. Right. Yeah. All right. And then we'll do a Terraform validate again. All right. Okay, look, it says the argument backup is not expected. Did you mean backups? Oops. Is it backups? Let's go and look. Yep, it's backups. See? Catching my errors. And then I need to go over to the variable and change backup to backups. And let's clear my screen. And let's go ahead and do a validate success. All right, we did a plan. Let's do a plan again. We already pulled down the provider. I didn't change nothing. I didn't have a module. So really didn't need to do that. But let's do a plan now. Now we should see where it shows that the backups is now set to true. You see the image here. You see the name. You see the region. All right. You see the size and so forth. You see everything that's an input. And you see that I get an output. I'm telling it to give me the IP. All right. So next thing now we need to do is a Terraform apply. And I'm going to do an apply, and it's going to ask me for yes, but there's a way around that. But I want you to see what happens next. So now I'm going to do an apply. It's going to say, yeah, okay, well, I plan to do all those things. I'm going to Control C for right now. I want to clear. Because what you can do is the Terraform apply dash auto approve. And before I do that, let me get over into DigitalOcean. Should still be logged in. Okay. Hold on. Let me get on my droplets. Okay. Yeah, I have my droplets here. All right. So we're gonna see that it gets done. All right. Dash auto approve. Sorry. All right. So it's going through. It's telling me an error. So this is what I was running into before. It was complaining to me about my code. Well, not my code, but my DigitalOcean uh thingy. So now I have to come in here and figure out what that is because it did that on me for the other stuff. So what happens is inside of DigitalOcean, you have to have an access token. Well, I've already logged in and authenticated. So I don't know why it's complaining about this access token. So let me see, where do I get, where do I correct this error at? Because it happened with me with it happened with me unable to authenticate. I've created two new tokens. So let's go find out what it is. Oh, DigitalOcean. All right. Can't authenticate, API can't work, not expected, unauthorized. Let's see. Um yeah, I got the bearer token is there. Let's look and see. I'm looking inside of, let me see. Do I have to do API? I may have to do an API token. No, I have that. I have an API token. And I have it set up for read and write. Let's see, access, authorization, tokens and keys. All right, tokens and keys for DigitalOcean. Let's look and see what the problem is. Terraform. How to use Terraform with DigitalOcean. Boom, boom, boom. Da, da, da. Yep. How to create a personal access token. I'm sure it's the same thing that I've been doing. Yep. Personal access. Read and write, generate. Token selects the scope. When you generate a token, your token generated represents personal access token. And it says that the applications and API, we have that, but be sure your personal token, be sure to record your personal token, blah blah blah. Right? It's just that simple. API usage examples. You export the token, which you just created, and then you can do a curl with that $ token and get you back your stuff and your droplets, right? And create multiple ones. I'm sure it would work with my droplet. But let's see what the issue is. Let's go back to our command line. For whatever reason, error creating the droplet. I wonder if I can't create in this project. Let's find out. All right. So um let's see, Terraform apply. I run a verbose. I know it's authorization, but I just want to see. No, only I can do this. And it wants to do it, and it gets to the error post, the API DigitalOcean version 2 droplets, and unable to authenticate. I already did a .ctl auth login. Oh, initialize. Already did that. Validate token is valid. I don't like it. I don't know. This was bothering me earlier. Let me look at my settings. Remember, I joined. I'm not I'm not over my limit. My droplets. Let me see. I'm looking around and I don't see any other issues. I'm gonna try another location. All right. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try a new token. All right. Here we go. So now what you have to do, I got a new token. Um, so here I do new token authenticate dash T. Okay, it doesn't like that without the token. That's fine. All right, so now let's do a Terraform. Um, Net, oops. I'll change that token. I'll fill that token after this section. Plan. Yep. Apply. Yes. Same thing. I don't know. I have to ask. I have to contact them on that because that should work. These are the woes that you have when building out the infrastructure. Let me kill that one. I just killed it. No big deal for that. All right. So what should have happened was it should have deployed an actual droplet here. But earlier, I deployed a Kubernetes cluster. And the it uses 6 vPCUs. I did this from command line on using the .ctl command, right? And here are the nodes. And if you expand here, you'll see my nodes. You see it was done 6 hours ago. And you'll get some insights into here, like the cluster itself. Right. And I can also go to my Kubernetes dashboard, which I have up here. So now I can find out about cluster roles, the namespaces, the nodes, what's going on with the nodes, the CPU limits, the different service accounts, the deployments that get deployed, my ingress controllers, config maps. If you're following along in the CKA exam, you'll get all this stuff in the CKA exam, right? And if you go back and look at Tim Sarowitz, the recent video that we did here recently, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about all the moving parts for Kubernetes, from the scheduler, from the control plane, the data plane, the whole nine. Understand how the interworkings of it works. Remember, Kubernetes is an orchestration tool. Terraform is an orchestration tool, right? Right? Persistent volume claim, config maps, custom resource definitions, CRDs. All right. You get into all of that. Let's look at settings. I can change the cluster name, so forth, whatever, and do that, right? By default, because I'm connected to DigitalOcean from command line, my config file is stored locally on my box. But if I was using GitLab and using the containers in GitLab, it would be stored locally to the container that is deployed in GitLab. And I can download that config file and save it to use it throughout my pipeline. And we'll do pipelines the next time. We won't have time today. because there's so much more I need to show. Right. All right. So now we've done this. I went through. Here's my DigitalOcean machine that or my Terraform file or whatnot. It's gonna bother me that I can't deploy from command line. It really is. I'll be working for the next hour trying to figure out what is the issue, and I'll probably have to do like an updated one. But we've already authenticated. We made sure that the actual token actually works. There's nothing in here that I could see where I can't use that token. But it is what it is. It connects to the DigitalOcean API. Just curious as to what that is. I don't know. But anyway, the other thing that you get out of this, let's see, you get the highlights of it, the CPU usage. If you click here, that's where the dashboard comes in at. So I can also get, advanced metrics, Linkerd, service mesh, right? I can also do like if I want to go to the marketplace, I can go to the marketplace for DigitalOcean and I can install for my Kubernetes cluster. I could pick some stuff to install. So if I want to install Grafana, I can install Grafana on here. Let me go back over here because there should be a one click for this one here. Because I installed earlier. I installed Grafana earlier on here. Let me see. Cluster ID. Oh, it's right down here. Here it is right here. So here is I installed Nginx. If I want to install Linkerd, I just click on install and it's going to install that for me. So Linkerd is going to get deployed onto my cluster. So, but you're like, Tamika, that's great, but I don't want to be in the actual, because you've never really taught us anything about the actual web interface. Stop showing us that. So remember I told you my stuff got saved, my config file access to my cluster got saved locally. So now I want to do a kubectl get namespaces. So it's going to give me a list of all the namespaces, right? I could say, okay, well, get me the pods, and here we got to give a default. We got to give a namespace, so you could do. I think it's just dash in, and let's look at Linkerd. So here's all the pods that are running in Linkerd namespaces. What are pods, Tamika? Why you keep talking? You keep talking these terms, and you're not explaining those terms to us. So we're going to look at pods, Kubernetes, right? Pods right here. The smallest basic deployable objects in Kubernetes. Pods can contain or can include containers inside pods or several containers inside of a pod if you want to. Some people do it, several pods or several containers in a pod. All right. So let me show you this one. Right. So here you can see they got a container in here. They have a container in a database. They have two containers in a database. They have three containers and two databases all in one pod, right? So again, you can have multiple things inside of a pod or inside of multiple containers inside of a pod, right? So what I showed you was a actual when I deployed Linkerd. First off, it created its own namespace. Third off, it showed you the pods and that they're running. I see the status of those. So now if I go back up here and get namespaces again, I'm gonna clear this and get namespaces again. Let's kubectl get uh, pods in the cube system. Look at that. we have a whole bunch of pods in there, right? And you can get info on these pods, and you can get log files from these pods, and you can redirect log files to these pods. You can do troubleshooting. This is a whole nother level of things that you can do. Let's get Q public and see what's in there. Is that the namespace? Cube public. Let's do cube CTL get namespaces. Get yeah, dash cube dash public. Why you don't like that? Oh, no resources found. Okay. Let's do Ingress Nginx. And there you go. Right. It looked like it restarted. It failed at some point, and it restarted up. Right. So that's the overall. So we kind of covered a lot. We went from deploying. I hadn't even get to Terraform Cloud yet. We'll come back and hopefully I had everything working with DigitalOcean and Terraform and the actual deployment. I don't know why the error's out, but there's another way you can do this deployment is you can deploy directly from command line using the curl and the actual tokens that you had before. But here we are. We've deployed a cluster. I've shown you Terraform. I've shown you. I didn't show you Ansible how you could do this, but here's the other thing: you have again that you can create an Ansible playbook that could essentially use the if you wanted to. It's just out of bounds, but you can use Ansible playbook to call kubectl to deploy applications from your container registry out in GitLab or GitHub or Docker registry or what have you, or your registry that you built in DigitalOcean, right? As long as it's been updated and so forth, right? So there's a number of things that you can do. I think if anybody got any questions or want to come up, you can drop the link real quick, and then we'll probably be getting out of here pretty soon. I hope this made sense for everybody. I thank you all for sticking around. Don't forget what arguments and attributes are. Don't forget what backlog. The backlog is epics, scanning, Trivy, how to scan. And Trivy is not the only thing that you can use. Remember, I talked about this before, the cloud native landscape. When we talk about the cloud native landscape, there are different things out here that you can use. So we want to look at container runtime, container registry, security. We want to look at a container security scanner. Let me see. It's not under registry. Provisioning, runtime, special. What do I have on here? Security and compliance. Let's look under here. So here's Aqua Security. You can use Claire. It's another one. You can use Qbitch. These are open source tools, so you can download these tools and play with them. Open Policy Agent. Remember, I talk about compliance as code as well. And Sneak. That's another one. That's a good one. Sysdig is another one. Air's Trivy, right? TerraScan, right? Detect compliance and security violations across your infrastructure as code to mitigate risk before provisioning your cloud native infrastructure. So you're not running full compliance for yet, right? So you can use Trivy in order to, not Trivy, but TerraScan to make sure that you are doing what you're supposed to do, right? which is really cool. All right. D, is there anybody backstage? I haven't been looking. I don't think so. All right, cool. He says nobody backstage. All right, people. It's been real. I see y'all dropping off. And we're gonna catch y'all Saturday. Yep, Saturday. Do we meet this week? I don't remember. I don't think so. No, we don't meet tomorrow. Tomorrow is a holiday. I'll be on automatic. All right, now.